Hi, this is Amber. So let's start with somewhere where you're probably super familiar in terms of making choice boards, and let's look at Google Docs. You can simply use a Google Doc to make your choice board. So what you're looking at here is a tic-tac-toe style choice board. This is a super popular template because what students do is they try to make an X. Now, many teachers tell them they have to do one row across and complete all three squares, but they could do it this way, or this way. So as long as they join the lines, they can complete the assignments. This gives them choice. But what you'll notice is that at the top, there's a topic 1, a topic 2, and a topic 3. So essentially what you're having them do is complete something in each of the areas, but they're getting to choose which one of the topics. Now I'm going to switch to a tic-tac-toe choice board that has just 2 topics. So in this one, you're having to complete 3 squares horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. And what you can do is you have to do something in topic 1, something in topic 2, and then you have to complete something that covers both topics. So this is sort of a way to review something. You'll notice that that center is your choice. So this teacher is even providing the student a choice of activity as long as it's on topic 2, where the student can actually complete this board. So you'll see in these two choice board styles, basically there's some text and there's some tables. So we're going to look at how to use a Google Doc to create something that has content so that you could use it for a choice board. So we're strictly focusing on that. So if you're wanting to do a Google Doc, I would suggest that you go to your Google Drive, you go up to New, and you choose Google Doc. Now, one thing you may want to do as a step before this is create a folder in your Google Drive and call it your HyperDocs choice boards. And then you could put all of the choice boards inside. Whatever your method of organization is, essentially what you're going to do first is create a Google Doc wherever you need that to occur. So I'm going to go ahead and open up this Google Doc. And you first need to decide the orientation of your choice board. Some people like theirs to be in the normal portrait mode, and some people like to do theirs in horizontal mode. It's totally up to you. But just to show you that little tip in case you're interested, under File you'll see Page Setup, and under Page Setup you have the opportunity to choose Portrait or Landscape. So this is how you can reorient the style of your page. So I'm going to go back to portrait because I would like mine to be portrait mode. So a couple of things. I know you know how to add text and change it, but I just want to kind of put a little content in here so you can see what to do. And doing this, I am going to show you something really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put the title of my choice board. So here I have week 4 choice board. I want to center that, and I want to make it a little bigger. And you'll notice that under fonts you may not have a lot, and I have quite a few fun fonts here. A lot of ones that you can use with students when you don't have to worry so much about which font based on their reading level. But you may not have a font called Rock Salt or Caveat. So I want to show you really quickly, just as a tip, and this works with slides, docs, doesn't matter if it's a Google product. There's a button at the top that says More Fonts. If you go to More Fonts, you can choose by popularity. You can choose whether you want a handwritten type font or serif or sans serif or display. You want it more about how it looks. What you do is you find a font that you like. So if I find a display font that I really like that I don't have, and if you have it, it'll have a blue check mark next to it. But if I see one that I really like that I want to try, all I have to do is click on it and click OK. And now that Carter 1 is inside my choices. So just a little tip there. So sometimes you can snazz up your choice boards by just using interesting fonts. So now I have my week 4 choice board. Now, after you put your title in, one of the most important things you can decide about your choice board is what is going to tell the student they've completed it. So that's why a lot of teachers like to use the tic-tac-toe style, so that you definitely know you've completed it if you've done a horizontal or diagonal line, or depending on how you have yours oriented. It's easy on a tic-tac-toe board. But some teachers just like to say, here's a bunch of choices, you have to pick 4. So it just depends on what you want. Whatever that is going to be, you're still going to need to put some directions on your document so they will know how they will know that they've finished. So I'm going to go ahead and use the text tool here to put in the directions. Okay, so now that I have my directions, I can even change my font so that my directions look a little different. So they're going to have to complete at least one activity in each row. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a table, and tables are a great way to keep your board organized so that you can either label columns in a specific way or rows in a specific way. Some people even like to do choice boards that have days of the week and then they have the options beneath them. It's just up to you. You have all manner of freedom and creativity. I'm just going to show you how to structure it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Insert and choose Table. Depending on how many rows and columns you need is how you need to select your number of columns across and your number of rows beneath. So I'm going to do a 4 by 4. You'll notice this just looks like a table. The sizing is not the way I want it to be. It's just kind of a table with text. Now, if you're the kind of person that needs all your boxes to be the same size, no matter how much text is in there, I do want to show you how to do that. So one of the ways you can do that is select all of your cells, right click and go to Table Properties. And you'll notice you have a section that says Dimensions where you can set the column width and the minimum row height. So you can set those. So if you want your column, and this is by inches as well. So if you wanted your column width to be 1 inch and your minimum row height to be 2 inches, you can do that and click OK, and now you've got your column. If you don't like how that looks, you can go back and change it. So mine are a little bit on the narrow side. So if I wanted to go back to Table Properties, I can also change my column width and then make it 2 by 2 so that they're actually even. But you'll notice that's pretty close to the edge. Doesn't matter, it's fine. But now they're more square-like. So what I'm saying in mine is you have to complete at least one activity in every row. So you can put your columns across the top if you have topic areas, or if you don't want to let them know exactly what your strategy is, you can just start putting content in there. I do want to show you that if you want to use a little coloration in your columns, all you have to do is use your paint bucket at the very top, and you can change the background color for each column. So if I wanted to do something where I had every column kind of a different color, it's up to you. You can be as creative as you want to be. So I could go through here and say you have to pick at least one yellow activity, one green activity, whatever. So you do have the ability to change the colors. You also have some ability to change the table borders. So if you go and select your borders on your table, you'll notice at the top, right now it's just 1 point. If you wanted it to be thicker, you can actually make that thicker, as well as you can decide if you would like to have dotted lines or dashed lines. It's up to you. So you can kind of make it cool looking because you can change the borders and change the color. It doesn't have to just be a dry box. So now that I have my boxes this way, then you can go in and add your text and put whatever it is that the activity is. So one of the things that I would like to show you is how you can make a link in your box. So I'm going to go ahead and add my directions for this activity here. So now I have my text for what I want completed in this cell if this one's selected, but I want you to see how it's at the top. Now I want mine centered with the cell, so you can right click and go to Table Properties and choose Middle, so that this will be centered in the middle. And you'll notice I don't have to use that with each one. That just changed it for that particular cell. So you can do it differently if you wanted to. Now let's talk about linking. If I want them to view this particular documentary and I want to make this a link, I highlight the text and I click link. There's nothing worse than putting a URL into a HyperDoc. You don't want to see that URL. There's no reason to see all the dots and slashes and underscores. And it looks better, and it'll be easier for your student if they just click on a word and are able to go there. So after I do that, I'm going to click Insert Link. I'll paste in the link, and then I'll apply. So now when the students see this, they'll click there, they'll go to the documentary, they'll be able to watch it and come back and do whatever it is they need to do. So that's how you add a link. Now, what if I wanted to put an image into one of the cells? Well, if you're clicked inside the cell and you go to Insert Image, you can either upload one from your computer or you can search the web. And let's say that I want to find a pencil and put that in this cell. So I'm going to click on pencil and I'm going to insert, and that's going to put it into that cell, and it will keep it that size. So it's going to shrink it down because I told my table to only be 2 by 2. So that's why that's there. Once it's in there, you can also double click and do some editing and cropping, as well as decide if you want the text to wrap around it. So now that I'm here, I can come and add my text. So you can even add little images and so forth into your cells as well. You can also make those images go somewhere else. You can click on the image and you'll notice there's a paper clip up there, so I can also insert a link into my pencil. So when they click on the pencil, it's actually going to take them somewhere as well. So lots of different ways to use this. So basically you're going to keep going until you get the text and the information that you want in here. Adding links to resources. This could go to a Google Doc. You can add links that go to web pages, links that go to YouTube videos, links that go everywhere. And basically what they're going to do is complete in the manner that you've given them direction for. So in this one, they know they have to choose one in each row. So they could pick, you know, this one and then that down here and then come up and then go to the bottom. It just depends on your direction, but you'll want to be very specific with a choice board of your expectations for completion. So you have to be strategic when you think about what each of those columns or rows represent in terms of concepts, so that you'll make sure that you are giving them options, but yet keeping them in the guidelines and context of what you're trying to teach, if that makes sense. So we now have ways to make our choice boards. So we have looked at adding text, adding links, adding images, creating the table, and putting things in there like that. What I want to talk to you now about is sharing. So I'm going to give you a little tip of something that I would recommend. I'm going to show you two methods. The first method I recommend, the easiest method, is after you finish this, you go to Google Classroom, you create an assignment. The first time you add a Google Doc to an assignment, if you go to the drop-down box that's right next to it, you have the option to make a copy for every student. I think that's really important with choice boards, to give every student their copy. That way, what I can have them do is maybe I have them change the color of the cell of the one they've completed, and that way I know which one they did. They'll also turn in their work, of course, but it gives them kind of a visual. So that's one way you can have them get their own copy, is through Google Classroom. But there's also another trick. I'm going to pull this down and we're going to talk about the second method for sharing. Now, if you didn't want to use Google Classroom, but you still wanted to give your students each a copy of this finished choice board, what you're going to do is click on the share button, and you're going to make sure that the link says Henderson County Public Schools, anyone with the link can view. Okay, that's fine to do it that way. So now that I have it so that Henderson County, everyone with the link can view, I'm going to copy that link. So just to show you how this works, I'm going to open up a new tab, and I want you to see here that there's the word edit, and I'm going to take out everything from the E and edit forward off, and I'm going to type in the word copy. And before I hit copy, I'm going to copy that URL. Now I'm going to hit enter so you see what happens. When I give students that URL, they're able to click on make a copy and they get their own copy saved in their drive. Not as clean and smooth as Google Classroom, make each student a copy, but still an option for forcing a copy, and that way they don't mess up your choice board, they get their own copy of the choice board. So whatever method you choose, whether you are creating tables like tic-tac-toe boards, doesn't matter, or if you're doing something that has multiple columns and rows, you're going to want to use tables to keep your information organized, add links to your resources, make sure you're clear on your directions, and they and you will have fun with choice boards with your students using Google Docs.